Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here. To my new subscribers, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the Soulprint community. I hope you enjoy it here. Donations. Oh my God, thank you so much. You're so generous, and I truly, truly do appreciate it. The thumbs up, the views, all of it is truly amazing, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you. Today, what I want to do is a bit of, I'm not going to go into a deep trance, but I'm going to channel, I think, at a slightly different level than, when I do a regular reading and I'm channeling. I'm going to go down, up a level. What I want to find out is what's going on? Why is this happening? Why are we, are particularly people in the United States, but globally, why are we dealing with this sort of energy of like dictator-like behavior and bully-like behavior? Where is that coming from? And one, how do we cope with it? Two, what do we do to see if we can escort it on its way? So here we go. Let's see what Spirit has to tell us about what is going on in the United States, why it happened, why it's going on. We need some guidance and clarity here, Spirit. First, it is important to understand that there are many countries around your world where dictatorships and autocracies and royal families who rule. And all of those spaces and places have, wisdoms they're gaining. One of the wisdom is what happens when incredibly corrupt people end up elevated to positions of power and wealth. What you end up with is complete corruption. You end up with them having an ideology that says, I can do whatever I want, I'm special. I have somehow been chosen, not just by the people, but by some divine means. And so therefore, the way I behave, the way I rule must be the correct way. It must be what those people in those countries want. So you need to start there, because you have to understand that saying things like, we remember, and this will never happen again, isn't enough. It just isn't enough. In the United States, you have this real surge of, this white supremacist, Christianity kind of ideology. And where you get with that is people, again, who think that, their way is the only way. One of the blessings, if you will, of a democracy, a true democracy, is that it is so inclusive, and, everybody is welcome, particularly into what you all would consider the new world, okay? Those countries that are a couple of 100 years old, they're a melting pot. Right? I mean, you have people that come from all different lands with all different belief structures. And the idea is that they should be able to function independently, believe what they believe, and not have that be used as any sort of a weapon against them. There is so much outrageous stuff that for example, was listed in Project 2025, but people weren't paying attention. The people who needed to pay attention weren't paying attention. The people who were understanding the energies of what was going on, in many ways, they didn't really need to know point by point what was in this Project 25 because they could see the writing on the wall. So, first of all, it's not enough to say, well, we don't want this, or we'll never forget, or we'll never do this. Because what's going on in the United States right now is not that different from what went on in Germany in the 30s, 1930s. So, in some ways, the question is, what makes America so special that they should make the choices they make and then be upset with the choices that got made and the results? Your internet is flooded with remorseful buyers, right? Who voted for Trump and then realized, oh my God, he's coming after me. He's coming after my family. He's coming after my benefits. He's coming after my children. Well, what were you voting for then? Like, what were you voting for that was so important that it's not like it wasn't out there. It's not like it wasn't being said. It was simply that people chose to believe that their one issue or their one thing was more important and superseded everything else. And they're coming to find out that no, in fact, it wasn't, Trump being Trump. He meant it. And one of the problems that people in America have had is that what he says is so outrageous that it's very hard for people to process and understand that, in fact, he means it. And so this is where you're at. So, what makes America so special? It isn't necessarily that America is so special, and in fact, there is a lot of American attitudes and behaviors that could be adapted to a more general or generous, encompassing way. But having said that, one of the things that America is wealthy, and it by far doesn't have a huge population compared to other places on the planet, but it's a huge Republican. It's an area that believes in democracy to whatever litmus test, I guess, that they use. And for quite a while now, many decades, America has been sort of viewed as, the strongest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world. And so they have been given, in some ways, more authority, or their words have a greater impact. This is a wonderful, wonderful thing when you have somebody in office who has an awareness of that melding pot energy, and who has an awareness of the energy shifts that are going on right now, that are taking place. They are astrological, they are energetic, they're all, there's the shift, from 3-dimensional to 4-5. There's a lot going on right now. And in many ways, there needs to be recognition that that is the energy that we're now working with. And that energy that comes from a place of isolation, comes from a place of hate, comes from a place of, we're better than them because we think this, we believe this, we have this. How did this happen? It happened because the messages that were being sent by one party were catering to a lower vibrational energy among those people who ultimately ended up voting. And the positive, inclusive energy was not, while it grew in magnitude within like-minded energy, it did not penetrate through to the other side. You can blame this on, the media, you can blame it on the internet, you can blame it on whatever you want. It's not that it's wrong, but there needs to be a recognition that everybody plays a part. Who played the biggest part in this last election? It was not the people that voted for Trump. It was the people that chose not to vote. It was the people who decided that they were just perfectly happy moseying along in their own little world. And in many ways, yes, the Trump voters are experiencing buyer's remorse, but the people who didn't vote at all, in many ways, that's where you're going to see some significant impact. And one can only hope that the American politicians, the American media, are able to help people who choose not to vote, help them understand why it is so important that they do vote. Because if you choose not to vote in a country where voting is one of your greatest blessings, you're simply saying that you relinquish control of your life, of your society, and by and large, you're not even paying any attention to what your options are. You just relinquished it. So what's happening right now energetically is that people who voted in a particular way and people who chose not to vote are now starting to face the realities of what happens when somebody who has dark motives, somebody who loves being the center of attention, but loves being the center of attention and being acknowledged as a bully, as being acknowledged as somebody who is, smarter than everybody else in the room. When you let that kind of person into a place of power, you are now seeing the impact of that. Not to mention the fact that this particular person doesn't have strong principles, ideology. So, frankly, the only ideology he has is that it's transactional and it has to benefit him. So again, how was that missed? It was missed because people were choosing not to pay attention, or worse, choosing to say, that's exactly what I want. So now you have a situation where you have a country that is It's not even that it's divided, it's that it's almost imploding within itself. Because your leader is so easy to manipulate that he sort of falls into line with whoever has the loudest voice or offers him the most. Where does this go? It is important. It is really important that in the next 12, 14 months, before that midterm election really starts gearing up, that the message of the destruction, the message of the intention makes it to those people who so far have chosen not to hear. Excuse me. Because that will be the energy that can and will shift the balance of power. Because if you are able to strip the person in that office from his powers, then the forces that push against him are strong enough they can halt and block. It is a message that needs to get out with clarity, because there will be interference. There's going to be, information on social media, and you know the ones that are most guilty of this, who are just choosing to flood disinformation. And people need to have more clarity about even that going forward. Now, because the United States sort of has this sort of exalted or special place on the planet, there are energies, there are divine energies, there's angelic energy, there is energy and wisdom and intelligence coming from other solar systems, other galaxies, other dimensions and places, all focused on trying to contain and minimize the amount of danger and hardship. But it is a very, very fine line to walk, because, like so many voters who didn't vote to strengthen the country, but in turn chose to diminish it, chose to narrow its view, its mind, and its attitudes, they have to, unfortunately, experience a reversal. And yeah, do a whole bunch of other people get caught up in collateral damage? Yes. Independently and individually, we encourage you to remember you have the power to create your life. You have the power to manifest. You have the power to choose positive energy over lower vibrational energy. And you're going to need to rely on all of that as you move forward. You see, where you're at right now is a place where it doesn't actually matter who sits in that office. As long as they are on that side of the divide, the intention is the same. So people who were not paying attention, who thought he was just being him, are now, within weeks of him taking the office, starting to recognize and experience the kind of energy that basically has now been let loose. in the country and by extension the world. There is a lot to be said for a strategy that floods people with so much information and so much truly unbelievable behaviors that they simply get overwhelmed, they get confused, they don't know where to focus or what to pay attention to, because on any given day, there's huge, huge things that happen, but only one or two of them end up making it to the front of the line so that, it's broadcast, it's presented. Some of the ways that this is going to be changed and mitigated is you're going to see a continued increase and presence of independent media type and independent commentary. You're going to see the average person starting to push back and making sure that the people that they have frankly put in office understand the significance and the seriousness of what is going on. As energy continues to build and as energy continues to put into place to create blocks so that the damage can be minimized. It is important that each one of you choose to pay attention and focus, and that you understand the significance of this moment, this period of time. And yeah, it's exhausting. And it's tiring and it's frightening and it's scary. But you are not without power. And you are not alone. So you strengthen communities so there is some volume to the pushback. And you continue to do your work, your internal work, to continue to strengthen yourself and your energies. Because so much is that everything is about free will choices. There are people who are going to have to gain the wisdom of what that means in terms of the consequences of the choices that are made. The consequences of decisions that have been made. And in the United States, frankly, this applies to both parties. Because what you continue to see is this older ideas, attitudes, and energy with many people who remain in power, who have positions of authority and power. And regardless of what party, it's important that they hear from the very people who put them into those positions of power and authority. Over the next couple of months, rest of February, March, April, as you measure time, There's going to be a lot of shifting, changing. A lot of things are going to be broken apart. And the people in power right now have no intention of putting it back together unless it is in complete alignment with that leaders and the people around him belief. As an example, there's a lot of talk around, the education, the Board of Education. Where will they put their help and focus? On those schools that basically preach what they choose to practice. So if you are saying the same words and you have the same ideas as those people who are apparently religious, and they're such good Christians, if you are preaching that story, you will receive their help. If you are preaching any other story, you will not, and they seek to destroy. There is an upside to this, but in order to see it, you have to look a little bit down the road, because what's going to happen is you're going to see things that are starting to come apart, break apart. And not that far down the road. What that does is it gives a government, not the current one, a government that is truly for the people. It gives them the opportunity to rebuild some of these institutions or agencies that long ago gave up functioning in a way that was truly helpful and beneficial. So while the tearing down process is scary, because as humans, you like to cling to that which you know, that which is comfortable. And so when you see things falling apart around you, it triggers a fear response, an anxiety response. Not everything that is being done or is intended to be done is a terrible thing. It's a bad thing. It isn't. It's just the way they're choosing to do it. There will be a democracy in 2 years, in 4 years, in 6 years. If the energy, that positive, vibrant, inclusive energy, is able to penetrate where there are walls and blocks. The benefit is you now have people who are behind the wall standing in front of the wall saying, what have we done? Those are going to be the people that you want to reach. Not the ones who are still behind the wall. You'll get to them. But it's the people who have come out from behind the wall, because they're the ones who are going to best be able to communicate the message to those who are still behind the wall. Because why? Well, because they're being directly impacted. Whether you are a single mother, whether you have a disabled child, whether you are a farmer, whether you are a federal employee. It, it would have been much more gentle if the other party had ended up in that White House. But there was enough corruption and enough interference that their message was not able to penetrate the places that it needed to penetrate, even though it had a tremendous amount of momentum and energy. The understanding that the corrupt and bullying behavior was not acceptable, that understanding was not received. It was not understood to a degree that would stop it. The people who had the choices didn't understand or recognize the implication of what they were doing and what they did. And those, by and large, are going to be people who are going to feel the impact of what was done and will be done. There have been many, many, many civilizations on Earth. Your scientists are only beginning to scratch the bottom, if you will, of the civilizations that have been on the Earth. Ones that have been 100,000, 200,000 years ago. There have been times that civilization on this planet have fallen because of greed, because of some people thinking that they are somehow better or blessed than others. Energetically, energies are coming into place to try to balance that teeter-tottering staticky energy that is being emitted by the planet, by the Earth itself. And energies are in place to try to calm and neutralize that. And bring enough light so that the wisdom can be received by more people, by enough people. When power is removed, when that kind of power is removed, when that person of power is removed, it sends out a message to like-minded countries that maybe the writing's on the wall for them too, where they have dictators, where they have autocrats, where they have incredibly corrupt royal families. You are in a time of extreme change. But change does not come very often easily. And very often, in order to even understand what needs to be changed, there first has to be some understanding of what's going on that necessitates the change that needs to happen. That is part of the energy that is currently swirling around. So as there are agencies and institutions that are diminished, there will come a time down the road where they will be put back together, but in a way that is reflective of this time not a way that was reflective of the energies 30, 50, 60, 100 years ago. It is so important that you remain positive, you do what needs to be done to get that message out. First, with the politicians, the people in power who need to hear it. And secondly, within your own circle. Because as that energy expands, more and more people are going to come out from the wall of ignorance, from behind that wall of ignorance. The word literally meaning uneducated, they don't know. Sure, in there's a whole bunch of people who really believe what they're saying, and they do know. By and large, you have people who truly did not comprehend, did not understand, because they weren't given the information that would allow them to be able to look at something objectively. It was kept from them. And yes, was it out there? Yes. Could they have found it? Yes. But there's no point beating that drum. We have to be here, present, and looking forward. You are not alone. You are being helped. You are being guided. You are being supported. But in the final analysis, one of the primary reasons people choose incarnation is to be able to experience life in a tangible, physical way. Therefore, you have bodies. Therefore, you have, weather systems. You had food that needs to be grown. You have all of the supports that need to be in place for a physical body to thrive and survive. But the primary reason that people are drawn to this kind of a physical incarnation is because they recognize that while there is energy, while there is spirit, while there is all this help, the vast majority of the work needs to be done in a physical, tangible way. Which means that spirit and energy can support, can guide, can suggest, even can heal, but cannot do the physical, tangible work that needs to be done to facilitate the change, the growth, and the evolution. All is not lost. Your democracy will hold. The next couple of years are going to be hard. They're going to be learning curves for people who weren't paying attention. But for those of you light workers, for those of you who understand how energy works, you are again reminded you are incredibly powerful. Stand in your power, use that power, and continue to expand and strengthen the light. That is their message at this time. We hope that it has been helpful. And we hope that from it, you are able to discern your path forward. Thank you so much for listening to these guidance and to these words. Okay, well, I guess that's what I know for right now. Listen, everybody take really, really good care of yourselves. I'll be popping on this week, kind of at random times. Please click that notification bell, because until things settle down a little bit, I really am going to be almost responding to things that are going on. And so that's where you may not, normally my videos always came out at a certain time of the day on certain days. And I'm warning you, for the next little bit, it feels like they're going to be a little bit all over the map. We will get our rhythm going, but right now we're in a response mode. So if you have subscribed, please hit the notification bell. If you have not subscribed, how come? We're kind of a fun little community here at Soulprint. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for listening to this long message. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye for now.